to be in, and millions of Pakistanis of this age group, they have other things on mind.
Absolutely.
You know, they have their studies on mind and where they have to go abroad and, you know, further study and whether they want to come back or not, and so on and so forth. They don't really think that, okay, we have to stay here or we have to make things better and this is our responsibility. So I must say, you know, great endeavor there. Like-minded people, how many of you are there? Jafar,
there are about around 20 to 30 of us, although we have a small group. We've still achieved a lot in the amount of time that we have. But the thing is that you have to identify your responsibilities and sort out your priorities. For example, studies, you definitely raise the correct point that it should be every person's priority, every student's priority. But then again, you have to reach a balance between studies as well as your other responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So that together, you know, you're progressing towards many goals at the same time.
Okay, that's interesting. Now I understand this was set up in 2010.
Yeah.
That was last year, and this was right before the floods. Was floods actually the triggering point?
No, not exactly. As I just told you what the background was, we were initially set up to focus more on education.
Okay.
Right. And right after we were established in June, in August, the floods hit Pakistan, and the scale of devastation was so huge that we decided that we must expand our aim beyond education and focus more on floods.
That was more timely anyway.
Exactly. So we were basically dragged into flood relief and flood rehabilitation.
I understand that you started from Lahore and already that you managed to gather millions of rupees. Please tell us about that. How do you convince, how do young people, you know, and this is all as much to inspire other young people who are watching us right now, how do you guys go about and making people believe that you are doing this for the right cause?
I think this is one of the difficult problems that we face because we are always young and people are less willing to give it to us. But there are generally people who just as a token of encouragement or appreciation give us some money. And what we did last year and what we did again this year for Sindh was that we set up a camp at the Liberty Roundabout.
Okay.
And this was once again the first camp over here. And we set up a 3-day camp from 19th to the 21st of September. We would start at 10 in the morning and stay there till 5. We had to wrap up early because of dengue and, you know, all the mosquitoes flying around. So we would then call up volunteers at our Liberty camp, which served as, you can say, a center stage of our entire campaign. And when volunteers would come over there, we would hand them over a donation box, give them a flyer and a poster, and just give them a very quick and a brief introduction about what NGP was. So in case if people are asking them where the money is going, what is NGP, how do you plan to spend this, so they have an idea and they can tell people where the money will be spent. We would then form groups of say 3 to 5 volunteers and send them to places like Al Fatah or outside Haji Karim Baksh or Jalalson's or the MMR.
Where you know that the upper crust wealthy, you know, the people who can actually spare money.
This year actually we realized that there was not much traffic at the Liberty Roundabout itself. Last year we restricted ourselves to the roundabout itself, and people were so willing to give money that they would actually stop by and put money in our boxes. But this year this was not happening at the Liberty Roundabout. So we had to expand, we had to send contingents of volunteers to different places in Lahore. So that's how it basically works.
So you both, or the organization itself, because I'm sure there are other like-minded people like you were concentrating on monetary donations, or you were also, you know, looking into other, because there are medications we are talking about, there is food, there are those people, flood affectees, they have lost everything basically. So what all were you looking at?
Initially we've started off asking people to give us money because the problem is that if we buy shelter from Lahore, then we have a large transportation cost from transferring it from Lahore all the way down to Sindh.
True.
But again, this is one of the problems, and the irony in Pakistan is that in Karachi and in Hyderabad, places which are closer to Sindh, the prices of shelter, the prices of medicines are inflated. People are selling them at higher prices, which means that we are now caught up between either Lahore, buying the supplies from Lahore or from Karachi. But at the end of the day, we have calculated that if we buy these goods, even at an inflated price from Karachi or from Hyderabad, it was cheaper when we add the transportation cost to it.
All right, interesting. So funds, obviously money-wise, was what you were looking at. Now, and I'm glad you guys are here because I often wonder, you know, of course there have been even last year, this year less, but last year more. I saw that, you know, in every signal that you would stand, there would be people, you know, collecting something for this cause. Do the rich give more freely, or is it just, you know, you have expectation from a big car. You know, it's passing by, you would expect them to really dish out some you know, bigger chunk of money, and not so from a little car or even a motorbike or something. I wonder what your experience has been like.
Generally, we do expect more from the bigger cars, as you just said, but the ground reality is quite different. More or less, the people in the bigger cars, they're indifferent. They won't even give a second glance to you when you're standing there in the heat with your posters and with your flyers. But there are exceptions always, because there have been people who have been helping us greatly. For example, last year I remember at the camp there was this a poor man who came up to us on a cycle. He had 3 or 4 kids with him, and he's donating money, so that's something that gives us a lot of motivation.
Of course.
So, you know, there's always exceptions.
So all give, but I mean, your expectations also vary. Okay, so that's interesting, and I want you to, you know, listen to their experience as well, because we keep on talking to our viewers and urging them to give, and there are so many ways to give. I mean, sometimes we just keep thinking, oh, reliable kaun si jagah hai aur kahan jaake de. You give from the heart, you can give anywhere, because you have to basically at the end of the day trust, but then trust is a big element. Does anybody come up to you and ask you, okay, do you have an audit for all this? Because we are talking about millions of rupees. You guys managed to raise millions of rupees. How do you make sure that it actually, each and every penny goes where it deserves to go?
We actually have on ground right now 3 or 4 different people. One of them is in District Badin, then there's Chaudhry Ahmed Riaz, who's the General Secretary of PIPRO, that's an organization. He just called me last night. So we are coordinating with them on ground with 3 or 4 different people as to what is needed where and what exactly are the requirements over there. So we usually talk to them every second or every third night and get feedback as to what is needed over there. Plus, as far as money is concerned, we have Yusufullah Tahir, who's managing all the finances of the organization since his father is a banker. So it really helps us in making sure that the money is in the bank. Then we are following all the proper procedures in withdrawing it, and then making sure that we make all the records of where the money is being spent, what is being bought, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I understand that you both are from HSN?
No.
No, Bakhtawar is from HSN, I'm from Scans.
Okay, I'm glad then, because that is what I wanted to know, that did you involve other, you know, organizations, schools?
Absolutely. We have a system of representatives, the NGO itself, where we appoint, say for instance, 2 or 3 people per school, and they are responsible for representing our organization in their school. So for instance, if there is a charity drive, which we are just starting right now for the Sindh flood affectees, we give all the representatives who are part of the team a booklet, and we tell them to start a charity drive in the school. So this is how we are spreading in Lahore.
Your network, I would say.
Absolutely, and this is mostly through Facebook. And I'd just also like to take this opportunity to appreciate all the efforts put in by the team this year. We initially started off and we had planned to have 2-hour shifts each for every single person. But every single team member gave in more than those 2 hours. And this shows the level of commitment and the level of dedication that the youngsters showed this year for Sindh.
Absolutely, very interesting. Now you mentioned a charity drive. Please do tell us so that, you know, we can all participate in it if we want to.
Basically, since the purpose of the organization is to be youth-based and driven, and since it's entirely driven by the youth, the idea is to make sure that we involve the youth as much as we can. Now, it's very easy for me and for Jafar to go to our homes and tell our parents to donate 50,000 rupees or 100,000 rupees. That's not a problem for all of us, for all the 30 to 40 people in our team that I'm talking about who cannot come here. But again, the idea is not to, you know, just sit back home and ask your parents to donate. The idea is to go on the street, to do something yourself, to work for it, to strive for it. So now the idea is, since the schools are opening after the dengue 10-day break, we are planning that we will be distributing booklets to our team members, to NGP representatives, who will then start off charity drives in their respective schools.
Okay, when somebody does something like this, and you know, you set up this organization and you get like-minded people in, you also you know, reap the rewards, or I would say fruit of your labor as well, because you feel that sense of achievement that you have been able to help somebody. What more recognition do you expect? Are you expecting some kind of you know, outside help, maybe from the state or maybe from a bigger NGO to pick you up, maybe from the UN, I don't know how, but would you like to join hands with something even bigger than what you're doing?
I think over and above recognition, it's more of our responsibility as citizens of Pakistan. And I think all that we are doing, all the team NGP is doing, is fulfilling our responsibility towards the country and giving back to the community, because we are the ones who are rich right now. So it's our responsibility and it's our duty as citizens of Pakistan to do it. One of the sad things that we noticed, and Jafar was telling me about because he was at Al-Fatah on the third day for like 4 or 5 hours, was that people were coming up to us and saying that the floods are in Sindh, thus there is no responsibility and we should not be collecting funds
as if Sindh is not like a,
absolutely. This is
a
wrong.
part of
this is
us,
a wrong
basically.
approach that people are taking, because Sindh is as much as part of Pakistan as Punjab.
Absolutely.
And it is our responsibility as Pakistanis. We are Pakistanis first. And I think this is a wrong perception that's taking place in the mind of the general people.
I absolutely am totally inspired by this, the fact that you people are so dedicated, and also somebody coming up to you to you and saying that ye to Sindh mein ho raha and why should we do it here. I'm glad that you realize, and I'm wondering, if it is your upbringing, because you are very casual enough to also admit that, okay, fine, we are rich, but we don't, we weren't born that way or something, we don't deserve it necessarily. It is our duty to help other people as well. So I like that realization that you understand that you are privileged, but now you have to go beyond it as well. Now I understand that you guys have been, in contact with your people right at the center of where the floods are happening. What exactly, Jafar, I'll ask you, what exactly is required on the ground? We were talking to a reporter and he was telling us medicines was one thing, but what all is required?
Essentially, what we understand right now, the ground realities are that people do not have shelter. So that's basically what we're focusing on. Acquiring tents and providing those people with shelter, because as we understand, as the people on the ground are telling us, that is what is required right now.
Okay, so shelter is one.
Medicines, because there are a lot of skin diseases.
Because we were just telling people about that.
Everyone's been seeing this on television as well. And then there's this clothing requirement, and more importantly, quilts. Quilts and kumbals are needed right now because winter is setting in.
I wonder where, we take things so for granted, because I did not even realize that it's going to get very cold very soon, and these people are not going to, it's not going to, overnight they are not going to get anything, the shelter bhi mil gaya or heaters bhi mil gaya, something like that. That is not going to happen. What next for this? I doubt if this is, a commitment that you are going to let go maybe next year. I think that you are going to, it seems to me as if that you are going to stay with it as well. What next? I hope that you will not maybe, just wait for disasters to happen and go on. Like you started off with something else.
Our plan next, we have 2 or 3 different options. We actually held a fundraiser this year to celebrate our first anniversary on the 25th of June. And we had planned to spend the money that we raise into the renovation of a school. Again, the idea is to follow a do-it-yourself approach, which means we will not be hiring labor to paint the school. We will be doing it ourselves, because NGP is all about doing it yourself.
Of course.
So the idea is to renovate a school, and we're still in the process of identifying a school which we can renovate. Other than that, we have held talks. One of our team members has held talks with Master Yu, who's a teacher in Islamabad,
of course,
who has been teaching for
very
I think 20 to 25 years.
Area.
Yes, absolutely. And he just teaches children in the slums. So we are planning a trip to go over there and help him in any form we can.
Of course, and that would also inspire, maybe like-minded people in Islamabad. So you're moving out of, I guess, the safe vicinity of Lahore, because you are a Lahori, so you would know, the kind of response that people would have. Girls also participate with you, because I can understand, guys have a mind of their own, and they can actually have the privilege of, or the freedom to just go out and help out if they want to.
A lot of people think, and initially we had this problem that there were not a lot of girls that were showing up. But this year, surprisingly, and you would be surprised to know that there were more girls than boys in the organization, and more girls volunteering to come and sit at the camp. And we were not telling them to stand with a chart on the Liberty Roundabout. They were not sitting at the camp itself. They were standing on the road holding a chart in the heat. So I think this is a good change that has come over the last 1 year or so. That girls are coming up, showing on camp, and volunteering themselves to stand on the road itself.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they also realize that the people would know that this is to look beyond them and look at the cause, at exactly what they are doing. So I think that would be something. Interesting, interesting. And again, the drive is on because we are going to be putting all, by the way, the information on our Facebook